Hello, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the live, where we're going to speak about. It's themed "You're Not Your Mother." It's basically just going to look at the relationship, not the relationship really per se, but um, it's just to tell you that your mother might have been the best, might have been the worst, but you don't have to be her. It's just basically looking at childhood trauma as well, and it's basically a safe space for us. So for those who can be able to join us here, I think I can be able to put. I don't know if Chris is here. I can be able to put the Google Meet link. Also, we're also going live on Google Meet as well. So if you can't join us here, yeah, you can also join on Google Meet. So just say your name and where you're tuning in from, and then we can be able to start from a few and introducing who we are as an organization, who I am, why I'm speaking about this, and why should you care, which is the most important thing. So yeah, so I'm just a minute as I get into the Google Meet part, so that for those who are not there, they can. So um, you see the Sheep Summit comment on Google Meet, and yeah, we are also yeah, for those who will be able to join us. So send your co-host request cute marks and say who you are, and let's see if we can just have a discussion on the theme is I'm not you're not your mother, and basically we're just looking at things that are not really our own thought process and our own thinking. Yeah, many of us are carrying patterns that we inherited from our parents' behaviors, etc. Because I was being challenged, and especially because of this World War III that has been going on. Like, let's say if you were born in Iran, what are your chances, or what are the possibilities of you being a Muslim? Almost 100%. So your environment, one way or another, shapes you, whether you like it or not. Your environment does shape you. So we are just going to look at the research. So we carry patterns, and some of us, and especially us millennials, it's it's not a lie that millennials have the most grew up in the most hard toxic conditions as children. So we sort of inherited those patterns from our parents, and we're just telling you that, they made a decision. They they sort of, because even if you say that okay, childhood trauma is the reason why you are the way you are, you can only blame it up to a certain extent, because they say you are not what happens to you, but you are the decisions you make about what happened to you. That's what makes you who you are. So yeah, so basically, let's talk. If you want to join and co-host, I wanted to because we had a very wonderful co-host, but she wasn't able to make it today. And yeah, we're just going to talk about basically who we are as an organization, and yeah, get into the live. If you like to request to co-host, please, this is your chance. I'm going to give you like guys as two minutes as I pull up like my research and notes that I sort of guide to discuss this live. So this is going to be more of an interactive live, me sharing my thoughts, sharing my experiences, us sharing about who we are, and yeah, uh, things like that. So please share the live, send it to other people, share the live, send it to other people so that they can be able to join. We're basically just going to talk about healing, childhood trauma, and there's two schools of thought in psychology when it comes to how our parents and the environment that we grew up in shapes us. So if you're here, please just tap. I don't know if I can say tap on the screen because it's usually a funny inside joke for many TikTokers. But if you'd like to give us a gift, donate. We're also hosting fundraiser for a safe house and rescue center. Uh, for our safe house and rescue center. That the safe house is one of the ways we saw we've really been experiencing a challenge when it comes to like rescuing people who are in situations that are unsafe. That's from gender-based violence, children that are lost, etc. And we've been referring them to other places. And most of those uh, homes, if we call them rescue centers, although the homes don't usually keep someone like long term. And you understand right now the economy in many countries, as is Kenya, is sort of changing and shifting. And there's like a lot of because of that. Because I usually believe that, let me say this: the government fucks men, men fuck women. It's just everyone bending over and receiving their fair share of effery, or if I can say fuckery without this life being flagged for being vulgar. But basically, that's it. That's it. If we can be able to just get most of our governments right, and the smallest form of government is basically your families. So if you can get your families right, have a healthy family, healthy children, you yourself, as even if you're living, because when you say family, we sort of think mother, father, that kind of stuff that we were taught in geography, history, or some social development class. So, but basically, even when you live alone, you're a family by yourself. Yeah, you're a family by yourself. You're a unit. So you yourself, your body, your mind, your thought. That's basically an ecosystem, some form of governance. So, how you treat yourself, how you talk to yourself, how you carry out yourself, what responsibilities you have, all of that, they do shape a lot of how you'll be able to treat others as well, and how you'll be able to respond. So, for those who are joining us, this is I am not your mother. That's the theme of the topic of the live, but basically it's just a discussion of childhood trauma. You see, because if I say childhood trauma, people will be like, we've been there, done that. This is a person who wants to tell us about our problems, this, but we don't want to make it gloomy. We sort of want to see what are some of the patterns that exist, and are you still living in those patterns? Yeah, are you still living in, if you grew up in a not so affluent background, are you still carrying those patterns, those survival mechanisms, behaviors, hacks in your life? Yeah, or have you embraced abundance? So yeah, so basically that's what we're going to sort of talk about. as well. So please comment on the live, say where you're watching us from, and yeah, say where you're watching us from, and yeah, tell us about yourself. Like if you'd like to comment about your childhood, want to sort of host with us as well, we don't mind. For those who are not on TikTok, there's just scroll through the comments. There's a Google Meet link as well, where we are also having the same discussion. So yeah, so I'm seeing other people want to join. So there's one more person, but when you join, please let's keep it on topic. And yeah, so, so the live conversation is on identity, inherited patterns we have said, and choices. And basically, we're going to look at how much of your life, if I was to ask you, Kingmaker, how much of your life and how much that you're living is truly yours, and how much of it are you repeating, like in terms of patterns, or or you're saying, my mother used to do something, or my parents used to do this way, so this is the way that I have learned, and that's the way whether it's something good, something bad, and you've not tried to change that. So how many? Please share your thoughts, share your comments. I'm also going to go through the comments and see through the comments and see. Yeah. So basically, that's what we are talking about. Naam, shukrani Aida Muhando kwa taarifa hiyo. Madaktari bingwa wa upasuaji wa ubongo, mgongo na mishipa ya fahamu kupitia chama chao hapa nchini. So how much of your life is yours and how much are you dedicating? Tanzania hasa madereva wa bodaboda kuhusu how much of it is yours, how much are you actually, because there's like two schools of thought, yeah. Hatua hiyo inakuja mahususi kwa bodaboda baada ya matokeo ya utafiti kuonyesha kuwa asilimia sabini ya ajali zinazosababisha majeraha makubwa and there's another kusababishwa na ajali za barabarani ambazo kwa asilimia kubwa zikiwa ni ajali za pikipiki. Carl Rogers or Alberta Bandura, because we're going to break down and see and just say you're not your mother, you're not your father, and your life is not a continuation of their success, pain, or unless you live it and examine. So let's pause and let's talk through that. So this is basically about breaking cycles, and we're going to break down the two psychological schools of thought. The first one is the one that the school of thought that your past shapes you. It's more of a psychoanalytic developmental psychology. It is rooted in ideas such as Sigmund Freud. And yeah, so the core idea here is that your childhood and experiences shape personality. That's true to some extent. And I just want anyone in the comments to just say how do you feel about, like, does your childhood still shape you? Are you shaped by your past and things that happened to you in the past? So And Mecca, could you comment?
How are you?
How do you feel about your past? How does it shape you? Has it
Uh,
uh,
I'm sorry, I can't hear you clearly. My network is not good. Followers 600 napambana kijana, ila following 700, followers 610, followers 610. With following mwazi au ulio follow ni wengi people. Matikiti wapi?
yeah? So basically, those are the two schools of thought that I was thinking about when we were.
Yani niko na miss hapa, japo simsikii vizuri ile nani makelele hapa.
Okay, saying that what we heard Google.
Hapa nikachukua earpod ili nimsikilize huyu dada vizuri. Kama kuna vitu anavyoviona.
Let me just try and
Hapa si bado 400 tu. 400 na usiku. Bosi Msela. Karibu sana Bosi Msela. Tap screen guys, tap screen guys, tap screen guys. Jibebe kila nani. She power. She power. What's the meaning of your name? Miss H. Karibu. Dovri, you're welcome.
So yeah, the environment that you grew in shapes who you are and how you operate. So I'm just looking at the comments and to see if you're just joining us now. This is a live about breaking cycles, dubbed "You're Not Your Mother," and yeah, we just want to look at say some of the patterns uh, some of the patterns that we grew up in. So basically, we're just looking at the two schools of thought. Uh, assume that as a child, you assume that everything that happened in your home was okay, was normal. So you will understand that this is how life should be. But once you get to like adult age, like I say, adult is not, most countries say 18, others say 21. But if I were president of any country of in a position to influence that policy, I would say 23, 24, 25, because women's brains develop fully at age 25, and men I think 30, 25, 30. Most of us are really now a fully well developed adult at age 30. So basically, those are some of the things that we're looking at. So that was the school of thought where we're looking at where if your sort of your childhood shapes you. We're looking at basically, even if dysfunction happened, let's say domestic violence, let's say domestic violence happened, let's say you had a really rough background, abject poverty, so many other things that you can think of, a little bit of struggle here and there, survival. You sort of understand, or your brain registers that as normal. That is what that's the data that your brain is accepting as normal. But at some point, you grow up, you realize what I went through wasn't really the normal. There's other things and better things that happens, So I think for me, if I were just to give a personal example, would be when I was in primary school. It's for African parents. It's very hard, especially for us millennials, uh, to see our African parents very holding hands, hugging, and that kind of stuff. So for me, my desk mate then I was telling me that the parents had a fight, and at the end of the day, they kissed and made up. For me, that was very strange because first of all, you even on TV, whenever you're watching, for those of us who grew up with Telemundo, whenever you're watching TV and you see someone trying to smooch here and there, your parents would quickly switch that off. So you sort of learned to shun that kind of affection and showing affection, and you find, especially for us millennials, a lot of us are very crude and tough. We are very crude and tough. So yeah, so that's the kind of topic that we're talking about. Those like are the patterns that we learned, and over time I've learned that you don't really need to be that crude and tough. Honestly, you can just be like, wow, life is different. That this happened, that happened, and we are okay. So yeah, I'm sort of switching back and forth on my phone because I'm looking at my notes. For joining us. My name is Helen. Popularly, I'm the executive director of this organization called Shape Our Summit, or SheAiD Kenya. We're basically a non-profit for empowerment, mentorship. We also run a mentorship program for college students who are all over Africa. Yeah, it's a yearly program for the mentorship. It's about empowerment, mentorship. It's about gender. It's about advocacy on social issues, basically. Yeah. So if you're joining us, give us a like, comment, and yeah, let's chat. So basically, we're talking about back to the topic, which is like patterns and breaking the cycle of patterns that we learned as children. And first school of thought, we're just talking about what you learned as the normal. What's because we see like there was a time that in Kenya whereby the new normal when we during COVID. So a lot of government, a lot of headlines were like COVID is the new normal. We just have to learn how to live with it. So when you were living with your parents and when whatever happened, domestic violence, shouting, how conflict happened, how negotiation happened, how people agree to disagree. Was it a prayerful house or not? When I say prayerful, I'm not only talking about Christianity. I'm also talking about just religion. Was it a religious house? Depending on the different religions that exist in the world, because I'm very religious. I'm very accepting of other people's beliefs as very important, and spirituality and religion is a very important and crucial part of childhood development. So those patterns that you learned in your childhood, how people negotiated, how people did were apologies given. When you wronged your parents, definitely you had to apologize. But when they wronged you, uh, uh, did they apologize? Did they apologize? Was an apology offered, or they just assumed you're a child, you don't know much, and they moved on with their lives? So those are some of the things that we're learning. So if you learned that, if in your household where you grew up as a child, you learned that shouting is normal. That's how you sort of, if there were a lot of outbursts, yeah, you either grow up with fear or you either become the opposite of what you grew up with, or you sort of also learn that as a mechanism. Yeah, it becomes part of who you are. So yes, so that's the first school of thought. So on how you grew up also defines like who the kind of friends you form, because your nervous system sort of remembers. Because there's usually just a blanket myth or saying that says you date your parent. If you're a lady, you date you or you marry your father, and they say men marry their mothers. So you sort of it is in your psyche, your nervous system remembers, because that's the normal. So you're sort of attracted to the normal, and sometimes the normal is not really good or really beneficial to your well-being as an adult. It could have been okay because as a child you needed the nurturing of your parents to sort of grow and survive. But now as an adult, you're sort of your nervous. So yeah, so for those who are joining us now, welcome. We're still talking about breaking cycles, aka you're not your mother or you're not your parents as well. So there's have been a trending video in Kenya about a young guy who came out and said that um, they sort of stopped talking to their mother because they told the mother, "I'm not your husband anymore." Because the mother was really, according to the guy, I'm just reporting, according to the guy, he said the mother was really expecting a lot, because even him, he's a young person, he's trying to make himself turn himself into someone. So the mother is expecting him to cater for everything, yet there are also other adult children in the house. And also that happens a lot because we see that our parents are also a little bit human beings, and they sort of have some bias where you find one person is treated differently, and it's also dependent on what stage of those who are joining us. Google Meet, there was nobody there, so all of us, please just join, just stay here. We don't think Google Meet will sort of work out. So yeah, so we've already covered the first. Where for you to be able to receive something, you have to get something as a child. So you have to perform well for you to get even basic things that are like, say, toys, love, affection, approval, and that kind of stuff. So your nervous system remembers, because your nervous system remembers because you've already learned that that's the new normal, and you sort of created some form of attachment to that kind of normal, that or the environment where you grew up. So if your caregivers were emotionally available as a child, you learn trust. But if the caregivers were inconsistent, rejecting, or unsafe, a child may learn that love has to be earned. People leave. I must chase connection. I must shrink to be loved. Conflict means abandonment. Yeah, because there's some people who, even in the office setup, you cannot have a disagreement with them. You sort of need to you cannot have a disagreement with them. They either work out or they shut down. Yeah, so those are people who learn that conflict is the means of an abandonment. They never learn how to disagree in a healthy manner. And then there are others who they had to sort of shrink in order to be able to be loved. They were never really allowed to be all the colors that they are. So yeah, then they understood that people need, and especially for people who've gone through death. A parent died when you are young, or a parent divorced and stuff like that. So you understand that people do need. So in the context of who we are as an organization, like I said, for those who are training now, I'll sort of give an update for what right we are later. So for those joining us, we tried to double host this on Google Meet and here, but I don't think that will work out. So we'll just have Uh, Leah, join us on TikTok. The whatever double hosting is giving me a problem. I can't multitask. So if you are on, let me see if there's still some people on Google Meet. Let's continue from where we were talking about. So we were talking about, for those who are joining us just now, we're talking about breaking generational patterns and cycles, and yeah, and cycles that we learn. So the first, we've already covered the first school of thought. That's the Sigmund Freud. That basically the idea of childhood trauma is comes from that school of thought, whereby we say the past shapes you. So it's more of a psychoanalytic and developmental attachment psychology kind of thought. It argues that early life experiences matter deeply. I'm just doing a recap. And the thinkers often associated with this broad idea is Sigmund Freud, John Bowley, Mary Ainsworth. If there's any psychologist in the house that would like to join us and co-host, please request. Yeah. So we've talked about how you grew up as a child and you understand that the environment where you grew up, that's the normal, until maybe when you step out and go to university at age 25 is when you understand and you visit maybe your parents, other your friends parents, and you live with other people, is when you understand that we didn't all grow up the same. There used to be, when I was in high school, our principal then used to say that, when you haven't visited other people, usually think your mother is the best cook or the best chef. Yeah. But when you walk around and through experience, you learn that other people also do know how to cook as well. So yeah, so that we're going to just go at, we also talked about now attachment patterns, that where you learn patterns of how love should be earned, people leave, that you have to chase connection for you to just love, to receive some love or affection or nurturing. And in the context of gender-based violence and domestic violence, which is something of importance to us as an organization, is that if someone grows up watching abuse, silence, or endurance, they may internalize harmful messages like, this is how relationships are, women must just tolerate. That is something women are fighting right now, that you just have to endure and tolerate. And I find that tolerance as a really bad word, because tolerance makes sounds like a person who has no options. Tolerance sounds like a person who, that's all they had and that's what they had to do. Because when you talk about, say, religious tolerance. That was a good way and a beginning way of describing the fact that, whether you're Hindu, Muslim, Christian, atheist, etc., we sort of have to allow and tolerate each other, because because at the point where the idea of religious tolerance was formed, it was at the point of it was at the point of there's a certain religions that are accepted. There's one or two or three that were not accepted, especially atheism, and another one that I really don't want to mention. So in the context of that, so that was just me trying to describe what tolerance is. And tolerance is not really a good or healthy word per se. So and this is just how things are, is one of the reactions a lot of us usually make about the patterns that we have learned from our parents. Yeah. And this is just how uh, women are, or this is just how men are. This is living is failure, or love comes with pain. So you shouldn't stay in a place whereby you don't feel like healthy. It is not good for you. It's sort of giving you some form of pressure. It doesn't create peace. There's no form of growth, abundance, etc., because there's some environments or people or that when you stay with, you realize that there's even you going to work, you're not earning anything. I mean, you're just making money for the sake of it, but life has lost its charm. So the second school of thought, which is has thinkers like Carl Rogers, Albert Bandura, and Aaron Beck, this is that you're not your past kind of school. It's more of a humanistic, cognitive, social learning psychology. Like I told you guys when I was talking about religious tolerance, all these ideas started from somewhere. You see, the way AI was an idea 10 years ago in 2016, because for me, my first interaction with artificial intelligence was almost like 10 years ago. So back then, it was still an idea. Right now, it is not an idea. It has advanced into the internet was an idea. It became an idea. It came to the dot-com generation. It has moved to now artificial intelligence. It's now moving to AI agents, robots, robotics, and the rest. Yeah. So the first school of thought whereby your past shapes you was a significant idea, because that's when the idea of childhood trauma and patterns was formed, because people were noticing and wondering how comes that we are all human beings, but one person is, other than their physical features being different, their characters, and they cannot be able to say speak confidently. They cannot be able to argue without taking offense. They cannot be able to uh, they cannot be able to sort of agree to disagree. So that was the first school of thought. So that was the baseline and the first discovery when this idea of childhood trauma started. So the second school of thought, which is the new one, is more of the humanistic, whereby school of thought, whereby the idea here is that your history matters, yes, your past and the things that happened to you, they matter, yes, but you are not trapped by them. You're not confined. You're not your past. You're not your parents. And that's why we are having that topic. The topic of today is I am not your mother. So we are sort of moving from this is the background of childhood trauma, but this is the background of childhood trauma. That was the background of childhood trauma, but right now we are saying that you're not trapped by your past. So the thinkers of this school of thought are people like Carl Rogers, Albert Bandura, Aaron Beck. Their main idea is that human beings can grow, reflect, adapt, and choose. Yeah. So you sort of you can't choose your parents. You can't choose your past. It happened. It happened. But you can choose how you move on from this point forward. After this life, you sort of psychoanalyze or analyze everything that happened to you, whether there was you learned how to agree to disagree, your conflict patterns in your home, negotiation, communication skills, etc. Yeah, how so you have to choose from today henceforth. and say that you're not a product of what happened to you, and you are creator or the author of what happens next. So you sort of take your power back and claim authorship of your life. So authorship is just a matter of you're the one with the pen, you're the one who's writing. You couldn't write your past, but you're the one who's directing and controlling how your future goes. So a pattern cannot be changed while it's still while it is unconscious, because if you grew up in a house where people slapped each other, that was the normal. So you cannot unlearn that, because it's in your psyche, it's in your nervous system, it's deep ingrained in you. But you can decide and say, okay, I didn't like that. I've grown and I've seen other friends, etc's houses. That's definitely, and it's even illegal in most countries. You basically get charged for assault. So that is the moment where you name it and you challenge it and then you change it. So you say, I don't like how I grew up around conflict, because I learned that conflict it should make you shut down. I learned that conflict should make me feel like I'm being abandoned. Yeah, but I've noticed that pattern. I have named it. I am challenging it, that's not how it should be. Now you start reading, learning, and seeing what are other ways I can be able to do the same. Because they usually say Nigerians are good at this saying. They usually say something. There's many ways of killing a rat. So you can shoot the rat. You can buy a rat poison. So you see, one is actually really extreme. You taking a gun, sitting down, learning to use the gun so that you can kill a rat. It takes a lot of time and the effort that is wasted. Yeah, and those are some of the ways now you see how living in your past sort of takes a lot from you. So you need to name it, challenge it, then change it. So certain this is examples on how you can be able to do that. Is sometimes you confuse chaos with chemistry, and the ladies in the house, yeah, the butterflies that you're feeling, the excitement, etc. When you're with a person, sometimes it could be volatility disguised as maybe affection or attraction or some form of attachment. So look at yourself. In the first school of thought, we were looking at attachment. So you look at yourself and your attachment theories and the attachment theories that exist. Yeah. That is the anxious, and avoidant, or the nonchalant guys. So you sort of look at the anxiety that you feel and etc. It could be anxiety, but you're just thinking it's excitement, yeah. And another example is, I overgive because I learned love through sacrifice. And this is affecting a lot of us African youths, especially when it comes to black tax. It's affecting us a lot when it comes to black tax, because black tax is just basically you sacrificing. You watched your parents sacrifice, you are also sacrificing. But some of us, sacrifice is good, giving is good, but sacrifice is not, because sometimes sacrifice is at the expense of yourself. Because I feel like if I have one glass of water, yeah, I have two similar bottles I can be able to show. Yeah. So this is me. I am supposed to fill this other bottle. If I pour into this other bottle, it switches and changes, because I'll be the one who's empty and I have this. So as a child, I grew up and this is what I have. So for me, I need to sort of fill my own bottle, let it overflow, so that's when I can be able to fill another. So that's where black tax happens, because some of you are abroad, some of you have, I know it's a challenge of making money in Africa. I usually say the most blessed people are the ones who don't have to leave their country so that they can be able to make money. They found a job, they found a life, and in home where they were born and where they are growing up. Yeah, so you move to a different country, you're going through the loneliness of living abroad, or away from home, and all of that, and all the money that you're making, it's going back, yeah, going back to other people, etc. I don't get the nobility of taking care of your other siblings, but it should be from a point of I want to, not a point of now or at your own expense. I want to, and it is also beneficial, abundance, and growth. But it shouldn't be at your own expense, and you should also not expect anything out of it. Yeah, because some people usually say, I am taking X, Y, and Z, or my uncles, or my nieces, or my nephews, or my siblings to school because I expect them that even when I'm in a difficult situation, they'll be able to help. More often than not, that usually doesn't happen. So don't overgive because that's how you learn love. You learn love through sacrifice. Another example of um, naming a pattern so that you can be able to challenge and change it is, I fear calm because I grew up in unpredictability. People who grew up, unpredictability is the lack of stability, meaning that today something is there, tomorrow is not there. It's more of now you see me, now you don't. Today you're in school, tomorrow you're not. So your nervous system learns that life is, of course, life is not a straight line, yeah. Or life is not a straight line, but your nervous system sort of learns that there's a lot of unpredictability, so you don't know what to expect. So you're always on edge and thinking the worst and expecting the worst. So once you are aware of such patterns, that is very powerful and it gives you options. So your thoughts also can be written. Yeah, there's cognitive psychology that teaches us that beliefs influence behavior. That is true. What you believe will definitely influence behavior. If definitely you believe someone doesn't really like you, your attitude around them will just change. It is hard for you to be able to it's hard for me to lie that, you see, my name is not Helen, because definitely you see, even when I say my name is not Helen, my eyes face away from the camera because I'm sort of making it up. Yeah, but my name is Helen. That is the truth. So if you believe or if you know something differently, your that belief or that knowing sort of influences your behavior. So for a lot of Africans, I'll say faith belief systems definitely influence your behavior. So, if you believe that you are hard to love, you may accept poor treatment. If you believe that conflict means rejection, you may avoid necessary conversation. Because in every relationship, be it at work, business, romantic, familial, you sort of need to have those conversations and have those hard conversations early, because once your emotions and everything have been invested in something, even in a business, it's hard for you to jump ship and just exit. So if you believe that I always fail, you stop trying, and especially you stop trying and you give up completely. These beliefs are something that you can question or challenge them and replace them with a new belief system. Yeah, because with a new belief system, so a new belief that you might have is like, I deserve consistency, disagreement is not abandonment, healthy love can feel calm, and my history is not my identity. So you can practice these new patterns and these new belief systems, because change is not just insight, it is repetition. So you build a new life by practicing better boundaries. Yeah. Even a country has, as in as much as you can say a country is poor, doesn't have minerals, it's landlocked, etc. The thing that every country has is boundaries, and it's boundaries. The fact that I can be able to close a street, or I can be able to say that this is my side, this is who I am. You're not allowed to cross over into this side without uh, proper documentation, etc. That should tell you that even you as a person, yeah, you need to have proper boundaries. And boundaries are not just about rules that, I don't accept this kind of treatment, I don't accept someone raising their voice at me. Once you make that boundary, enforcement of the boundary, because most of us are good at creating rules of engagement, but we are not good at enforcement of those boundaries. It's like having a police station that does not arrest people. It's of no use. So when we're saying that I am not your mother, or you're not your parents, or you're not what your past or whatever happened to you, definitely you have to. Most of our parents didn't have boundaries. They just let people, like, someone would just wake up. And I know it's Africanism and we are warm and cordial. Someone can just wake up. No, there was no phone. There were no phones back then. I don't know how old you guys were, but for me, I think phones started existing when I was almost 10 years old. So there were no like affordable cell phones, because cell phones. So somebody would just wake up and they show up at your house. So you're thinking it's a guest for 1 day, 2 days, 2 years down the line, they're there and they're still there. So our parents really didn't have a lot of boundaries, and those things also sort of affected us, because once a relative comes, you have to sort of, as the child, sleep on the floor so that the relative can live in comfort, and that happens. That is some of the things that we're talking about, like earlier, about an hour ago. That's the normal that you learned. So you learned that, other people can be able to take your place, and that's okay. And those are some of the boundaries I can have. So boundaries can be huge things in terms of even do not violate my person or body, which are things that are protected by human rights laws, to small things like I do not appreciate how someone talks to me. I don't like being stared at for a long time, and etc. And also, there's digital boundaries. In as much as some of us were public figures, please don't take pictures of us. I will follow you. I will ask you to delete it. If you don't delete it, definitely I'm going to take action after that. So you need to also, when you're practicing new patterns, first and foremost, you need to have better boundaries. If you have porous boundaries, all of a sudden, even if a country has porous boundaries, all of a sudden they'll start here that, oh, there could be imminent danger of terrorism attacks and that kind of stuff. And then also you need to have better partner choices, yeah, partners in terms of business, because the things we learned, like I said in the beginning, that the government fucks men, men fuck women, but the government screws men, then men screw women, and that's how the whole idea of gender-based violence, domestic violence, assault, and so many other things happen before even we can be able to discuss anger issues, patterns, behaviors, all of that. And the smallest form of government is your family. So if your family, you learned that people, you made choices out of, say, survival, for example. It was a choice of if I don't eat, or if I don't do this, this won't happen. You didn't have the choice of, skipping meals and stuff like that, because the meal that you had, that was it. Yeah, you didn't know where your next meal was going to come from, etc. So most of your choices are influenced from the surroundings and the patterns that you learned as a child. So when you're talking about better partner choices, and I'm a consultant for so many businesses as well. Um, when you're talking about better partner choices, you're talking about business partners, you're talking about partners in terms of husband, wife, spouse, that kind of thing. You're talking about friendships and basically relationships in general. And you sort of learn to choose that, right now, I'm choosing someone who can be able to, not someone you want to grow with, because the idea of partnership is someone you need to sort of live and grow. But you're choosing someone based on, this is where I am at in life. And men are very, very guilty of this. Yeah. Because if you are, say, in college, you just pick the girl next door theory, someone who's around you and available. But they stick with you up to the time you finish college, you're starting a job, then you meet another girl next door. Then you meet another girl next door. So by the time you buy your first car, you meet another girl next door. By the time you say make your first million, you meet another girl next door. Instead of just sitting down, being patient, and waiting to meet the last girl next door, or picking one person who you can see that their character and everything you can be able to grow with, and they would be able to stick and stay. So because of that, you end up saying that, like another song say, these women ain't loyal. It's not us. We are trying, yeah, even us, we're trying, but But because we've understand and we've also learned that you will always continue picking another person or picking friends based on convenience or where you are at in life, not on where you're going. Yeah, because you think you'll be there's no other 17th April 2026. This is the last one. So you need to think of there'll be 17th April 2027, 2029, 2040, 2060. So you need to pick partners, spouses, friends, communities around you, networks, um, who am I forgetting? Mentors who can be able to live and you won't outgrow them. Yeah, you won't outgrow them. So and that's why this theory of I'm cutting you off, your toxic friend or your toxic this, it's just a matter of you didn't take time to sort of think. And of course there are usually some friends here and there who will deceive you. But also you do not put yourself in spaces where you can be deceived, because if you can be deceived, you're a potential risk even to yourself, because deception means someone can trick you, you can be go through, someone can defraud you, and someone will deal with how child. The next live will talk about how childhood trauma affects your ability to be able to create wealth, because wealth creation starts from home, starts from your childhood, starts from where you grew up, etc. I find a lot of people who say have grown up with a lot of partners who are well off, etc. You find that their parents, families that are well off, they sort of seem a little bit. And those that have been well off and have generational wealth for a long time, they have now money and wealth stops being a problem. So now they start focusing on relationship and relational and other things like that. So basically, that's it. So when you practice new patterns, you have better boundaries, better partner choices, you have emotional regulation, you keep asking for help. A lot of us, and I struggled a lot with asking for help. A lot of us, men or women, who believe we are supermen or superwomen, and we carry S's on our chests, and we can be able to do everything, and we end up being burnt out. And unfortunately, some commit suicide or some are suicidal, etc. It's just a matter that you don't know how to ask for help, because you lack patience to sort of teach someone how to help you. Because even at work, you could be a senior manager or whatever, and you need someone to be able to help you, and they don't know how to help you, but you do not have the time to sort of tell them X, Y, and Z, or the expertise or the language to be able to put your instructions. Most of you are business owners. Employees are stealing from you. They're doing someone shows up whenever they want, but you don't do anything. There's nothing that you can be able to do about it. It's because that's because you have you do not have the language to voice your opinion or voice your rules or voice your boundaries, because all of these things, you need to learn the language of how to have better boundaries, better partner choices, emotional regulations, how to ask for help, and allowing peace and receiving healthy love, and also leaving harmful environments sooner rather than later. Because as you can tell, something is dangerous, like in places whereby, if you've ever been in a place where there was a brawl or a fight that was about to erupt, where two people maybe said there was violence or punched each other, you could just 10 minutes within you walking into that environment, you could just tell that the atmosphere here is tense. So in that relationship that you're being abused as a man and a woman, and nowadays even men are being abused, yeah, because abuse is not only the physical. The physical is what we complain of mostly, but abuse starts from the mind psychologically. Because if colonialists, we were colonized as Africans and other countries as well, it's because of the colonialism started in the mind. Yeah. um, say imprisonment starts in the mind. Once a lot of propaganda stories are being told about something, you believe it, and like we said earlier, that your beliefs form your character and they become slowly who you are. So you need to leave a harmful environment as soon as possible. So in the context of gender-based violence, under this school of thought that you're not your past, you can be able to change, name it, challenge it, and change it. in the context of gender-based violence and in the context of domestic violence, and is that a survivor or a child of an abusive environment is not automatically condemned to repeat it. So it is not automatically condemned to repeat it. So that means that you do not have to repeat the same patterns that happens to you, because in as much as we say, and we sort of say that of course domestic violence affects, of course, the lady in the house who's the victim, but it also makes the children the victim, because children who've grown up in domestic violent homes have the following symptoms. One is you pee in bed even at a later stage, because people stop peeing in bed say at age 10, and some later say 12, 13. But yours is continues even after, even into adulthood, because of fear. Yeah, because you didn't know what kind of attitude the man of the house would show up in, or the woman of the house would sort of show up in. We don't know what was going to be discussed, or what how conflict would be handled that day. And another one is promiscuity, both in men and women. You are highly promiscuous, yeah. And then teenage pregnancy, or the pregnancy like at a very early age, and then you're very averse to either abandoning people or being abandoned. Yeah, so you sort of, and also you can be also become a person who's very violent as well, or you can be a person that tolerates or allows violence over a long period of time. So when I say violence, or I don't mean even physical only, I said it usually starts, or abuse starts in the mind. You can find like at work there's somebody who's like sort of just being a mean person, or they are sort of the way they talk to you and treat you and etc, and you tolerate that for a long time. And also because the promiscuity and the tolerance for poor uh, the tolerance for dangerous and poor treatment comes from the lack of self-worth, because you need to sort of learn how to rebuild your self-worth. So with support, healing, awareness, a person who's grown up in whatever, from a gender-based violence or domestic violence home, or a home where domestic violence occurs or occurred, can be able to, with support, healing, and awareness, they can be able to identify the red flags early, choose safer relationships, build self worth, break silence, and create a different family culture. And that's how cycles end. So we've already discussed the first school, whereby childhood trauma shapes who you are. We've discussed the second school of thought, where we say, whereby it said that your past doesn't define, it's not an eternal prison, it's not a sentence, it's not a life sentence. So to bridge the two, which is now the topic of today, I am not my mother, is the two schools. The key message here is that both are true. Your past shapes you, but it does not own you, it doesn't define you, it's not a life sentence. So the tension here is that many people live in one extreme. As human beings, we sort of live in a polarity. See, my phone collapsed right now. Anyway, as human beings, we sort of live in some form of polarity. If something is not good, it's automatically perceived as bad. And we do not allow that what the second school of thought, or the humane side of things, where we say, could there be a gray area? Could there be, it's either we've learned that life can either be black or white, but that's not true, because in real life situations you sort of find out that there are gray areas. Sometimes you're not, it's what the French say, compris comme ça. It's not good, not bad, it's just there. Or what Kenyans usually say, niko niko tu. I'm just there. There's nothing wrong, there's nothing right. It's just a normal thing. Yes, and sort of those are some of the extremes. So many people live in one extreme. So the extreme of this is what happened to me in my past, and this is who I am. That's how I am not changing. And a lot of our parents have lived that way, and you've seen the ripple effect. Yeah, and I'm speaking to millennials when I say this. Yeah, because they say millennials are the ones who had the weirdest. Unhealed parents ever seen. I don't know if that's true, but it's some trendy topic all over TikTok. So yeah. So the first extreme is that everything is because of my childhood. That creates some form of helplessness. That means that you're sort of conditioned. There's nothing that you can be helped. It can't change you. You can't change. That's how you're supposed to live your life. That's not true. And then the second extreme is just move on and choose better. That also ignores the real trauma and conditioning. And most of us usually live on this second extreme, whereby you do not want to even think about or touch the past. It's a wound that has not been dressed or hasn't healed properly. You probably covered it with a lot of bandages and not change. You don't change the bandage really. You sort of just put another patterns and conditioning. So the truth usually sits in the middle. Yeah, what the French say, comme ci, comme ça. So for I am not my mother for breaking cycles, breaking patterns that you learned in your past. The truth sits in the middle. So your past may explain why you react the way you do, why certain people are attractive to you, or certain jobs or certain things are attractive to you, or why peace feels unfamiliar, or why some wounds repeat. But explanation is not permission to stay stuck. You sort of need to name that, okay, this is why I am the way I am, but I'm not going to stay stuck there. I'm going to sort of move forward. So, just to close, I'm going to say that you may have inherited your patterns, but you also inherited the power to interrupt them. So yeah, so basically that's been our lives. I'm going to check through the comments and say, maybe give a shout out if you're here. I'm seeing Jano Wadresi has just joined, Sabi, Tina. Yeah, if you've been here from when we started at 7 p.m., that's over an hour ago. I can see Sunguman is there. Hi Derek, how are you? I can see so many other people. I'm sorry I've not been letting people join as a co-host because I wanted this not to be very long. It was an interactive session about you're not your parents, I'm not my mother. Yeah, so basically that is it. I will repeat. My name is Helen. I run an organization called SheAiD Summit, or SheAiD Kenya, as written in the registration certificate. We are an organization for empowerment, mental health, advocacy for women and youth, human rights advocacy, and many other empowerment advocacy, mentorship for women and youth. And yeah, we do host these interactive sessions once in a while. So basically today we were just looking at how our patterns, childhood trauma, and the different schools of thought, and just like where do we end up? Because this thing of this is just how I am. This is how I was born. Yeah, it's usually a very blunt and a false excuse that we give. So SheAiD is a Kenyan-based community-driven nonprofit focused on protection, healing, and empowerment for people affected by gender-based violence, domestic violence, and related vulnerabilities. We began as ShePower Summit, a platform for dialogue, mentorship, and advocacy. Through that our work, we saw a deeper gap that is awareness alone does not guarantee safety. Because many survivors speak up yet still have nowhere to go. So there's little support and limited pathways to rebuild. So we sort of just want to sort of educate people about, of course, the differences between men and women, women and why some other things happen between men and women. Because gender-based violence is something that is now becoming very rampant in very many countries. In South Africa, in Kenya, in Japan, in Turkey, all over the world. So that reality shaped our evolution into SheAiD. Our work now centers basically on practical solutions that move beyond just sitting here and having a conversation into direct impact. Because we don't want to be like politicians and government. There's a lot of talking and meetings to do this and that, and nothing is really done. 30% is very done. So for me, I just wanted to build something or an organization whereby we can be able to say, okay, I do not have the powers of big man donors, but me as Helena Tieno, me as a small Kenyan young woman, I can be able to offer focus on protection that is advancing the vision of a safe house and rescue center for survivors and vulnerable children, and that's what we are getting into. We are doing a fundraiser for that. The fundraiser will be, of course, online as well. We will share the links on our socials. Please follow us. We are everywhere. If you just search for Shibawa Summit, you'll see the purple logo. She then PWR on LinkedIn, on X, that is formerly Twitter, on Instagram, Facebook, here on TikTok, and we also have like a WhatsApp community as well. I think if you go through some of our posts, you'll be able to see the links and where to join. So please follow us, share, keep us informed. We will keep you informed of some of the focus areas that we want to offer in terms of justice support for the women, healing, and then the integration. We just basically want to have a rescue center where someone can even stay for 3 years as we figure out like how did you get into this situation? How are you feeling now? Do you have any bruises? Do you want to go to court sue the person? Do you want to heal? Do you have some form of employment when you live here? Like how's your life going to be? So it's not more of a prison, but it's more of a rehabilitation center for gender-based violence victims and children who are in vulnerable situations. So we also engage communities through awareness campaigns, partnerships, events, advocacy that challenge harmful norms while promoting dignity and accountability. We also have a mentorship program for college students. It's free. It's a yearly mentorship program. The intake is usually between August and December every year. And yeah, you sign up and sort of send your CV or your application. Then you go through some process, and then if they select, I think, between 10 to 15 every year. But the numbers are growing. We're looking to grow. It's a virtual class, so you can be able to attend. The class is really it's just basically young people skills, because we solve implement skills. Because you learn, if you're an engineer, you know engineering, but you don't know how that in the office there'll be office politics, there'll be negotiation, there'll be leadership, that kind of stuff. So we exist to turn survival into recovery and recovery into a new beginning as well. So that's all for today. Yeah, I'm just looking at the comments to see who here. Becca, good evening. Good evening. Hi, how are you? How are you doing? Yeah, so unfortunately, this during the room has ended. And maybe there's somebody who has something to say, you can write it in the comments, or an opinion that wanted to share, we can invite them to post and say something. There's such a person, just say me in the comments. If there's none, I think have in the next 2 to 3 minutes we'll be able to just end. So thank you for those who have, I think, almost 2,000 of you have joined. If all 2,000 of you who have liked, have followed us, we 35, 3, 4, 5,000 followers on TikTok. So please follow us, keep up with our events, WhatsApp business community where you can be able to advertise what you're selling or what you're doing for absolutely free. So yeah. Yeah, so if you want to reach out on to us on phone also, our phone number is +254 740 On email is SheAiD Kenya, that's SheAID Kenya, that's KENYA @gmail.com. So yeah, thank you, and you guys have a blessed night and good evening. Enjoy your